Clearly they feel at least okay being able to move in that
they're
direction.
saying no. Let's go back to what works. Let's go back to giving Knight something that actually gives him some carry potential. I love you,
Yone.
Knight. I love the Galio. It didn't work. And now the Sejuani, first pick coming in for Beichuan. He has been put back onto facilitation duty, and he'll be playing to the stars of BLG.
Yeah, I said it there. My first thought was Yone, but Sejuani accomplishes something very similar. You're going to hope to be able to pair those up, but they clearly prioritize the Sedge a little bit more. They want that consistent piece coming out of the jungle, and it's going to be the Yorick as the answer for Sheer.
It was banned last time around.
Yeah.
I love the shadow hover of the Zed.
Yeah, just a little
Give it
shout
out tonight. But the Yorick has been banned before, as the Wukong also going to join it. Very strong top 2 now as well, coming through for FPX early.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a new map decision. Wukong was very much playable and strong, I think, on the previous map and the previous patch, but I think Wukong might even see an uptick in play rate with a lot of these skirmishes becoming a little bit more, you know, preordained in terms of when they're going to happen. A lot of those timers becoming a little bit later. It just gives more time for the Wukong to get into that, you know, skirmish sense. I thought it for sure was going to be the Yone there. Maybe they just want to pick top lane here, but it's the Renekton locked in. Early pressure for Bin. As the answer to the Yorick, it's definitely throwing down the gauntlet a little bit, saying that I'm just going to get such a large lead in the early game that the Yorick's not going to be as big of a problem, but I would be shocked here if they don't go for the Yone. Knight's very, very strong on that champ.
Interesting. Gonna still get with that big, strong combo of top laners. Now, big trend between both teams, and the Kai'Sa comes in instead of the Yone. Maybe they feel like Care has an answer to it. Both these guys have been very flexible with the meta in mid lane, so trying to play a little bit of chess and mind games in the draft here. But the Kai'Sa, a lethal one from Elk. Many across the world will know of his performance on Kai'Sa, but we know it also here in the LPL domestically.
Kai'Sa is a champion that I am very interested in. We've seen it banned quite a bit today, and so to see Elk in particular be able to grab that here on first rotation to pair up with something like a Sejuani to enable it does scare me a little bit if I'm looking for FPX. We do see the Yone ban coming in. I think you have to get rid of that, even if it's clear that BLG don't want to prioritize it. If they're going to let you take it away, you should take it away. But to quickly touch upon the Tristana, to be able to combo Tristana alongside the Wukong, I think just adds an extra dimension, an extra layer towards how those early skirmishes go, and some potential scaling. 5v5 team fights are, you know, strong, and we saw FPX succeed on that in game number 2. So interested to see them indexing, presumably once again, more so into that idea, but we will see.
Yeah, I've really appreciated Tristana's re-entrance into the meta. Can still be flexible, obviously, but still a very powerful pick once you get rolling with it. And really the kind of skill expression of the resets and things is really fun. The Sylas is the final ban, though, so mid lane focus for FPX across the table. We'll see maybe more support focus because FPX really needs some support to give them some engage. So BLG already focusing the Braum on that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, options get a little bit more limited going into Game 3. Rakan, Rel, Nautilus, and Alistar all off the board, so
30 bans.
Yeah, it is definitely a little bit more pinched than normal, and with the Braum gone, I think Leona priority skyrockets. We see the Akali ban there. You don't want Care to take that. Yeah, you definitely don't want to give him anything comfortable like that. That could signal that, at least from their knowledge, they believe this Tristana to be going bot lane. And it looks like their suspicions might be correct here, but we will see. Again, I'm just interested. I would prioritize something like the Leona here. I think you're spot on with the engage, but it's the mid lane they want to take, and will be that Ahri.
It's a pretty strong combo with the Wukong Ahri. A little bit less so than obviously the Vi Ahri that you typically see, but still giving Care a lot of mobility out of mid lane, and that was a key signature of both players coming into this one, is how often they look to get involved across map, out of lane itself. And now you have the Ahri, which absolutely gives you a window to do that. As BLG lock in the Victor, he wants to try to make this 1v1 in mid lane matter more. Knight wants to try to take down Care and get this Victor scaling online.
I like the idea from a comp perspective. I like it, you know, playing alongside the Kai'Sa and the Sejuani as a win condition. I'm not a fan of the Victor and Ahri matchup. I think that is pretty Ahri favored early on in the game, and I would imagine that, you know, Care is going to have a lot of priority there, so it's going to be up to Knight to make sure that he can pilot it correctly, get to those power spikes, especially because you're not really offering a ton of protection in the jungle with the Sejuani, but the Poppy will be the one to round out the comp. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense here.
A little bit like Thanos here. A lot of lockdown can be possible. The laning phase still probably going to suck, I'm not going to lie. But maybe the Renata coming in here for FPX will offset some of that setup that the dive is going to be looking for with the Kai'Sa, with the Renekton, with the Sejuani. And I really like this draft going into game 3. We had a very one-sided game 1, very back and forth game number 2. I hope we get a continuation of that.
Yeah, I think this is definitely probably our most even draft of the series up until this point. From my perspective, I actually maybe would even lean a little bit in favor of FPX in terms of just raw execution. Personally, I really like that Ahri matchup into Victor, and if you can get out on the map, if you can take those fights early, Tristana can get rolling real fast. Yorick's a difficult champion to stop if Renekton's not going to be able to get that gold in the early game. I could definitely see a world where they've got a little bit more priority than maybe some people might expect here.
And when these teams faced off, yes, it was a different jungler earlier this week on Monday, but Care got the better of Knight. And I'm just going to say that game number 2, a little bit more of that now in this one with a better matchup. Maybe we can see Care actually overtake Knight in this series. A guy that's been this crucial piece, this structural pillar for FPX in their new era. And BLG, speaking of, Knight is BLG. He has been the guy that had brought them into those titles. The combination of this team, the star power on this team, now being played between by Beichuan, coming over from TT, a jungler that maybe nobody expects to bring this team all the way to internationals. The expectations that BLG have on themselves, but also that the community puts onto them. And now at an important second round robin series, a redemption setup for BLG over FPX, but also a moment for FPX to pull it back, go off of this loss streak, and take down BLG again. They're really respectful today. Honestly, I don't like it, but you know what? I respect it. Respect for respect. 2 cheers.
I think they've seen how some of these games go, and I should respect. You're already seeing some aggressive tendencies here. Eric cannot afford to take a bad trade here, but man, I'm gonna be watching this mid lane matchup. You highlighted it perfectly, Mazel. It's gonna be important as we see. Walking in here.
Yeah, they're trying to get the early summoner spell usage. Double cleanse, use out, getting low. Care, maybe looking for the flash, misses, but the charm, no! He flashed into the charm! There's no damn way! As that's a big play going back and forth now. Trade 1 for 1. I'm gonna need a slow-mo replay of that one. That is absolute insanity. As now Care getting ran down by BLG2. That mid lane matchup, it might be a little bit wonky now as Knight picks that one up.
That is insane for the outlook of this game. I was just getting prepared to say Care is so important towards how this game ends up going. The Ahri needs to get out on the map. That's where FPX needs to find that pressure. Knight has a kill and an assist. He's up in gold now. I will say Care is able to match, and so they are even in gold because obviously he does get that kill and assist as well, both opting in for that Dark Seal, but just a chaotic beginning of this game, accelerating the middle of the map and probably creating some interesting situations that we're not done.
We're just going to go all in this game, and I love it.
Level 2.
Level 2 completed by FPX, so they'll have that early push. But man, I don't think I've ever, if it happened how I think it happened, I don't think I've ever seen that in my time casting League of Legends, which is just absolutely wild. I really hope they're going to give us time and give us a little bit of a replay, but as we look at the setup on the map itself, it is going to be that opposite side starts for both junglers, so a bit of opposite focus here, both still needing to get pretty active pretty early.
Yeah, I think for the 3rd game in a row, I'm going to highlight Shadow in the early game in terms of what his pathing is going to look like. Obviously, I don't think there is a necessary need for him to be aggressive, but getting out on the map early could be really big here for FPX. One wrong move, though, and you could be down the drain. We kind of saw that a little bit in Game 2. They were lucky to be able to pull it back. You know, when you're looking at the pathing here, of course, Shadow being on the bottom side could indicate that he could potentially want to try to shadow this Tristana. Show some aggressive, just overall tendencies towards that bot side, but we will wait and see.
I'm honestly just gonna wait patiently for my replay. I want to. please, LPL, give us a replay of that play, please. I'm begging. I'm literally begging. But now we're gonna see a back off by BLG as they're gonna try to get a reset. Maybe looking at an early adaptation. Maybe trying to get out of this lane a little bit, potentially. As they will stop their back, they will stay down there. But the top side scuttle will end up going to Beichuan. We will get the trade from
here.
Shadow, but Shadow's got a little bit of an angle onto Knight, who's playing super aggressive under turret. And now Beichuan going to have to come over to try to save Knight. Shadow realizes why he's playing up towards top side. Will back away. Now pings from Beichuan, trying to get over on the top side. We said about proactivity, about activity from these junglers. Now he's going to be spotted coming in. Sheer needs to try to run away. Going to use the wall. Going to try to get through this one, but the CC chain is there. And BLG, the top duo, is going to end up coming in with a big kill.
Yeah, Sheer just playing very aggressive. I understand wanting to try and dictate tempo, at least push the Renekton in a little bit, but you have to know. I mean, you do know that Beichuan is on the top side there. You know he's going to be making his way up to the top side of the map. I'm not really sure what you thought was going to happen. Spending the flash and then still, getting the flash out of Bin is a positive overall, but obviously dropping that pressure, giving Renekton the lead that he really needs in this lane is very big for BLG.
And it's Bin's Renekton of all things, too. He's going to start with the Executioners. Cut down on some of that healing. Definitely going to be a nice little advantage for him to play off of as well. As when we return to things, Dragon is coming up on the table, but now since we are on the different Rift setup, still have a little while until those grubs spawn. We've seen a little bit of trades, holistic trades now last game as well towards BLG for that one, but we'll see what kind of prio we get over the objectives with these junglers wanting to be extremely active. Beichuan gonna keep going. Try to look for that bot lane play. Didn't find anything.
Love this from Beichuan. He is just looking everywhere on the map. Anything he can get, he is going to take. Shadow attempting to try and capitalize, but he could be overextended on his own here.
I'm going to raise you an overextension. We'll just overextend the overextension. He does end up getting away. As now FPX trying to collapse on. But the white doesn't hit the wall bang. Shadow is going to make it out with a flash. On barely miscalculating the angle on that one as Bin goes all in. Sheer does not have level 6 yet, and Dominus has been popped. Bin making sure he's the apex predator, but we'll be locked in a cage. And maybe we are watching Jurassic Park. I know we talked about that last night. But now we get a little bit of that setup for Bin in the top lane. He's going to have absolute priority.
Bin is dominating this 1v1 right now, and setting the Yorick behind is ginormous towards delaying the win condition for FPX. Of course, the Yorick is eventually going to get online, but the longer you can make that window for the Renekton, the better off you are as BLG. Not only that, but Renekton can become a real big problem for something like a Tristana in the back half of the game if you are able to, get a sizable enough gold lead. So, Bin getting that lead is huge. On could be face checking.
He's going to get locked down here. Going to get the flash out of the last second, even with the reset from Awesome. Can't follow through. The Swifties actually coming in clutch for him there, too. Beichuan was actually following through. The Shear's now got bit behind him. He's still not level 6 yet, man. Oh, no. Bin's almost taking the turret, and now Beichuan taking the warmed up turret, and Sheer. Maybe he'll turn this back. Beichuan flashes out of desperation, and Bin now in a lot of trouble too. The Maiden makes the difference. Bin is going down. No, the slice and dice. He dodges out as well, and Bin is still alive.
Oh, a play that was so close to being a game saver for Sheer is still very massive for him to be able to turn it. Beichuan just taking a few too many tower shots in terms of trying to take down that Yorick, but definitely should at least get the Renekton off his back for a moment. Still a big lead in the top side, and no kill there doesn't necessarily equalize it. But now we are getting closer to grub spawning. About 30 seconds left on those. Dragon has been up. We've definitely seen a delayed priority on Dragon throughout this series, and really throughout the last couple of weeks. And see if that continues, but a lot of summoners burned across the map for a lot of different plays already.
Yeah, I really wondered if we were going to get a change of that prio on Dragon now that the grubs do spawn later and that there's only one spawn of the grubs, but definitely doesn't seem like things have changed very much, as we'd prefer to fight over blue buff than go for the Dragons, as you remember from game number 1. But now we get into the setup around these grubs. I think it's super important. The siege, extremely important for both sides, very strong for both sides as well. And both junglers already pathing up this way. There's actually a ping from FPX pinging onto the Dragon. So maybe they feel okay giving over the grubs. They did give over the grubs last game, and they did end up winning.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing as adaptation from some of these teams in my very limited sample size so far is that teams are a little bit unwilling to take Dragon early on before the grubs spawn because they're afraid of a full collapse with it being the only objective. To take, the moment those grubs spawn, if you want to take that trade, it becomes a lot safer to be able to make that decision, and especially with only 3 grubs now. And the changes to grubs and the effects that you get from them, I can definitely see it being a little bit more valued, but we see BLG continuing to stay aggressive onto Sheer.
On really wishes he was level 6 here. He's still so far away from it. Now Sheer under turret and the flash hostile takeover. Jwei has level 6 and makes the difference. Playing on to On. He will end up falling. Knight TP's in as well. That'd be more resources burned by BLG to try to save something. Chaos Storm gonna be unleashed there. But this whole time, bot lane play coming through from Care. The handshake beautifully done from Jwei and blocking the Void Seeker. It still plays across the map from FPX. BLG gonna try to pick up a little bit of something with this outer turret on top side.
Great roam from Jwei to be able to dissuade that and be able to pick up the kill. It's been really excellent about these timers throughout the entire split. It will be that first turret going over to BLG, so they'll get that for their troubles. Yeah, awesome now in the mid lane, taking quite a bit of damage. It looks like it will be traded for bot tier 1 as well. A pretty standard trade that we see, but actually maybe not with that teleport. So they're able to salvage it.
We are getting Roa also completed there for Knight, so he'll start stacking up on going aggressive. Hit level 6, buddy. Go now. Go to a lane. Go do it. Hit level 6 on, please. I need you to hit level 6. Jwei's already halfway to level 7. But first item's coming up now. Malignant's also completed for Care, so he's going for that cooldown reduction build early here too. I think there's a lot of strength still lingering in this mid lane, and able to teeter either way if they start getting some resources. But I will say BLG did end up securing those feats of strength, and now Beitwan can play a little bit more aggressive now that he's got an open side top.
Yeah, great call out on the Malignants. I love this for Ahri this game. Care still needs to be looking and active on the map. I still believe that that's going to be the power point for FPX, but no objectives to fight for. I think both of these teams are going to become a little bit more stagnant than maybe they would have been previous patch. BLG and stagnant don't usually go together too well, so that is a statement that is likely to be proven wrong at some point, but with Bin so strong in a side lane, I find it difficult to feel comfortable with the collapse here. That gold lead almost entirely on the top side, though, so relatively even game state, still very open for both of these teams.
Still a little while to the next objectives, too, as well. Going to be a bit of time until we see really any kerfuffles happen. A little bit side lane picking can exactly be the choice for FPX, but again, both junglers trying to stay as active as possible while still getting these clears going through for them. So play on the top side, not going to really extend to much for FPX, even though Shadow will end up stopping his back there. And this is where, you know, it's a return on play on the Knight. They realize maybe Knight's pretty good. And he's been feeling himself tonight. In a game 3, that's when you need a guy like Knight for BLG to step up. A team that does have so many expectations on him. And I think FPX giving them a little bit of respect for that.
I like the idea of trying to get on Knight here. If you are going to set him behind, it needs to be at this part of the game where the Ahri can really kind of express a lot of that raw power on first item spike. However, I also like not overextending. I think that that's the right decision here. You know, we've highlighted it a couple of times, but with those objectives spawning later, no objective up to take. You don't want to force the issue. That being said,
they're surrounded.
Count BLG out.
Glacial Prison, wall bang, double knockup. Look at the combo. Both of them tattered as Elk does take the turret shot, has to burn the flash, but BLG 2 quick kills in mid lane and a punish over FPX.
Awesome, even with the cleanse, does not have the tools to be able to get out of that. A gorgeous ultimate from On. Shadow looking to trade.
Oh, he's got the Cyclone going through. Beitwan is just under turret tanking, as now it's Knight tanking the turret, actually taking about half his health there, as Beitwan does make it out alive. Heartsteel stack, I guess, worth, as he throws up the Themo emote. And now Care trying to stop some of these backs going through. Elk will end up having to delay his just a little bit. Dragon is coming up in less than a minute. Rift Herald in about 2 minutes. See if FPX are going to feel willing to fight. We still have about a 3,000 gold lead hovering around for BLG.
Yeah, we see in this replay that they're just too far forward. Awesome has to cleanse the Sejuani ultimate, which leaves Poppy wide open to be able to play as aggressive as she wants here. It's a great ult from Elk to be able to get in and secure those kills. It could be actually a bit dicey if he doesn't utilize that, and so really nice utilization of the resources at their disposal. But you're absolutely right, 25 seconds on the Dragon. That's FPX's if they really, really want it. We will see where Yorick wants to go here. Yeah, push coming in from Bin. I'd be a little nervous about a fight, but again, Care should be at the power spike. This is when you want to fight, theoretically, if you're FPX. The gold deficit makes it a bit scarier, but if they can't win here, you start to get a little bit more concerned. So we will see.
I think Sheer will always be a menace in the side lane. Still hasn't hit that first item because of the stop off for the Bramble Vest, but Yorick is picked for a reason and will just have a lot of strength going for them in that split pushing. So maybe FPX trying to utilize that. They do have some scaling for them. But BLG pushing the tempo of the game. They're going to try to take the Dragon. Bin's going to get engaged on. Slice and dice out of there. Was trying to take down the Maiden in the end, but that should just be the back completed by Shadow and FPX. Shadow's going to delay a little bit. Maybe going over to contest, but that Dragon will just go the way of BLG. Back into the mid lane push as well as Beituan going for an aggressive stance here, going for some vision, but more so hovering over this mid lane play. Zahn, be a little bit careful. Beituan walking over, was thinking about throwing the Glacial Prison, but they're collapsing over on a Sheer now.
Yeah, this is bad for Sheer. Yorick is not in a good spot here.
Okay, we'll see if he can get out of this one. That's a further flash. He's fine. Everything's good. Maiden, not so much.
This is still really bad for Sheer. This is a really bad game state overall for Yorick. You're right in that Yorick will still be relevant throughout a lot of this game, but they have definitely made it a priority to make sure this Yorick is on the back burner. Hitting that Triforce now, but down almost 30 CS here. On the top side, 1.5K gold lead for Bin on this Renekton. He's going to be a really big menace, a really big problem as FPX starts up here on the Rift Herald. And with the Dragon stacking negated as well, FPX is definitely looking a little bit worse for wear. That being said, they're certainly not out of it. I said I like their draft for a reason, but be a big turn here. All
right, handshake out. The Rift Herald did get taken. Shadow will have an exit, but the Spirit Rush had to be used on the counter of the Glacial Prison. And now you're going to have movement, at least from Bin. Beituan overextending a little bit. Nobody's here to help him. He's all by himself. He's going to have to flash out, dash out. BLG trying to recoup a little bit to protect him. A bit dicey there for Beituan. It's fine.
Certainly not the first time today we've talked about Beituan potentially overextending. He is definitely playing very aggressive, and you kind of like to see that. Certainly on something like the Sejuani more so than the Xin Zhao, to be able to make sure that he can, you know, push the map and the tempo as much as possible. But from this point onwards, BLG with that gold lead are going to want to continue to try to use it. I think it's smart of them to be active on the map, but it's all about finding the right fights and especially getting the gold onto the right members of the team from now on. We see a gold graph there.
A little bit one-sided there. I love that Bin is getting so many resources and willing to pull out his signature Renekton in a game 3 as well. Ooh, Elk was feeling aggressive. I love it. You could feel that kind of tension in the air between the ADCs. But Bin on his most played champion of his entire competitive career, which is a pretty decent career at this point. Willing to go for more of the Renekton now in the newer meta. I love to see it flexing his muscles a little bit. Gonna have a big stake in this game for sure. And trying to access the backline, trying to access these squishies. And already almost on that second item too.
I was going to talk about Bin, but here we are. Beituan stepping up again. What else is new?
It's just testing his health bar. Bin's about to test the health bars of FPX, though. They want the angle. Oh, On misses everything. It's going to walk in and die. Okay. Well, that was a play of all time from On. And Bin will have to back away. Beituan will have to back away as well. And BLG at least make it out only losing one, but the Rift Herald's coming up, and they're looking to charge it right down mid lane.
There should be mid tower going down. There's really no way to protect from this.
Oh,
the be very careful here.
Double CC from the gravity field. They will end up getting the charge on the turret. The turret will fall, so no more defensive structure on the out or mid in BLG. They will take the Rift Herald down before it gets another charge off, and FPX going to look to reset now. About a minute and a half until the next Dragon comes up. We've seen very tight races on the Dragon Soul in all these games, but now FPX trying to even up the odds, make it a little bit more favored for them going into this next fight. If they can pick off Bin, he has flash, he has dominance. He's getting completely routed right now. Going to flash out of the slope from Sheer. Now popping dominance, waiting for the slice and dice. Going to use that to get some distance away, but the second Cyclone locks him down. Bin does survive, using a lot of his tools, but BLG are no slouches. They're pushing in mid, pushing in bot as all of this is happening.
what are FPX doing? Bin was out forever ago. There was no way they were ever actually going to be able to punish that Renekton, and they're basically just giving over their bot lane tier 2 for free. No real concern or care, pun intended, on that. And you see care in the picture-in-picture here. Use the Spirit Rush to escape. But just a very weird play. And once again, this is similar to Game 2, where FPX are just over-indexing and almost completely abandoning certain parts of the map. I just don't really understand on the top side why you feel like you need to do that. I get the big shutdown, but really doesn't work out, and that's more gold swinging in the pocket of BLG.
We know what they will do with the gold lead. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Take a note from Game 1 and Game 2. On, speaking of bad, misses everything and dies immediately under turret. The turret does end up falling, but at least FPX get a bit of a rebuttal there, and then the charge came through afterwards. But Dragon is up. FPX are trying to reposition around this setup of BLG are front and center to this objective. Would be second Dragon for either team on another Hextech Soul Rift.
Yeah, I really don't want to throw the game away at Dragon. If I'm FPX here, certainly if you weren't going to do it in second Dragon, I don't see why you would do it in third. We'll see if they want to go for it, though. Ultimates are available.
Oh, they used the Hex. Oh, Sheer. Okay, well, Sheer got baited, and even with his maiden standing at his side, it will not be enough to stop the LG as they take him down. Now they just turn back onto the Dragon here, and Sheer was the one that ended up being caught out before the Dragon started, and so second Dragon for BLG. Atacon did spawn on bot side. I love it because Shadow's being a little bit aggressive going for the Krugs before he backs, but this whole setup has led to Elk taking a mid-tier 2. Oh, just take the turret, get the flash out, reset not there because he didn't get the last hit on the explosive charge. And that means Elk will go top side potentially, or just try to back off as the turret did fall. Now Shadow, with this Omega flank that he was on this entire time, somehow finds on double Cyclone, and the kill goes to Jwei. He stepped up and took it. 2 kills for the carry Renata.
A lot to process in the last 45 seconds.
Oh my
Elk
God,
trades his flash for the tower. I guess you can make the argument that that's worth it. I certainly would be a little bit more, up in the air on that one. And then Shadow with the longest flank of all time sitting in the enemy jungle as they take Dragon. Feels like he's finally found someone with On, coming back and the support coming in to take it. Some interesting decisions overall, but overall the game state is in a pretty similar position to what it was a couple of minutes ago. I still wouldn't count FPX entirely out. We've seen BLG be over-aggressive exactly when they shouldn't be. All it takes is one fight for those resets to start coming in for this Tristana, and especially for the Yorick to start getting online, but it's going to have to happen soon because BLG really is controlling the tempo, and now they've started Otacon.
And for FPX, they really need Care and Awesome to be in prime positions, and I think we saw really good play from Awesome when he had that kind of reset comp focus for the Jinx in last game, but now on Tristana a little bit different, a little bit more scaly as well, trying to get to that point. They can't contest BLG over the Atacon, so the Thornbound Atacon will go their way. They'll get that extra oomph, and we'll be taking a look at that moving forward for BLG.
Yeah, again, BLG just feeling very comfortable with the position they're in. They get that if FPX walks into them, they've got a pretty good comp to hold the area. That Victor ultimate doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of making sure that they can zone out FPX, but again, just play slow, play safe. This is something we credited FPX for in game number 2, understanding their win condition, and the moment they started slowing the pace of the game down and understanding that they don't need to force everything, that's when things started to go a bit better for them. See if the same can happen here.
And you can pop people pretty easily, and if you're new to the Thornbound Atacon, when you kill somebody, giant area of effect comes down, slowing damaging everybody, as well as granting spear petals over. And it just enables BLG to really have these consistent long-term fights for themselves once they start getting some kills going through.
Flank teleport.
As now they're going to try to make the play. FPX feel like it's the time. They feel like Shadow might be able to find an angle with Care going in deep. Has to Spirit Rush away 2 times, still has 1. They go on to the other fight though. Big hostile takeover dodged out from everybody as they still do get on in the end. The Maiden doing some work here. And Awesome was potentially looking for an angle. It'll be the couple picks coming through, at least the 1 pick onto On, and BLG will slink away.
I like the proactivity there from FPX. I think they realize that these close quarters fights are really favorable for them. Care getting onto Elk, making him burn everything at the start there. Obviously has to burn a lot himself as well.
Okay, bro. All right,
Knight's
Knight.
got a personal vendetta against the Maiden, it would seem. Definitely wanted to pick that up, wanted to pad the stats here, but we're going to see a replay of this fight one more time. This is a really smart flank from Care because Elk and Knight are on the backside here. It's a lot of damage coming in. It burns the cleanse early. Care does have to, of course, utilize a lot of resources himself to get out, but Elk is now really scared in this fight, and especially with that hostile takeover coming out, has to play super far back. It's a free kill onto On, which is just free gold. You wanted a bit more for that Tristana, but I think you will take the small victories where you can get them right now.
I know why. I know why he ulted, because the Maiden killed On. That's why. He's a true brother.
You gotta stand up for your teammates.
He's a true
brother.
brother.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad the visual bug is here, as you can always see steadfast presence now on Poppy. We'll see how that works out.
That surely won't be a
it's not a problem. Hey, you can there's a difference. It's just like the upper particles of it, which I just find absolutely hilarious. Now, we do have Dragon in about 50 seconds. Baron in 25. Don't think that's going to be the focus. It is sole point potentially for BLG, but they're playing towards top side right now to try to get a push onto this tier 2, and there is no response anywhere to be found by FPX as they're getting their own push on a tier 2 in bot side.
Yeah, I'm okay with this trade. If I'm FPX, gold is gold, and the later you go here, the better. Especially with Dragon spawning in about 25 seconds, having that control over the bottom side could be really positive. Knight's teleport is not available, and so that is definitely something to keep in mind. We have pings coming down onto the Baron. Got some vision on it with that blue trinket, but FPX actually hold more cards here than they maybe expected to. Knight's teleport will be coming up soon, but it would be risky for BLG to start up the Baron here.
2.5 items. BLG feeling like it's time. Wow. They're going to try to burn the Baron down. I think FPX realized maybe something's going on. BLG not really willing. Elk was the one that wanted to commit. Now Shadow face checking in. BLG a little bit split on the direction they wanted to go right there. Ends up leading to a bit of a stall in the play. FPX, though, will not be going for that Dragon any longer because of the pressure that BLG put on the Baron.
One of the reasons I was very confused by the Baron call was Ben has no teleport available. He's pushing bot lane. That would have been a crazy decision from BLG to commit to something like that. It was just never going to be in the cards, but we do see the pings coming down onto Baron and onto Dragon now for both of these sides. Looks like Dragon's going to be the priority, though.
The Vori Flicker Blade has been completed there as well for Elk. So 3 items for the Kaisa. Really looking for the pop burst as well, and looks like FPX realized they just need to hold on. They need to buy more time for themselves. And unfortunately, that timer will be about 5 minutes as soul point secured by BLG. Do not want to give a Hextech soul to this composition.
Yeah, they continue to say that this isn't the hill we want to die on. And honestly, I can't blame them. Again, I just think it's a really difficult situation to try to walk into a Victor and try to walk into a Sejuani who can instantly turn and burst down anybody who goes in. You don't have a true frontliner here. It's really Wukong who has to do a lot of the checking, and so it becomes very difficult for FPX to try and contest a lot of these objectives. But Baron is the name of the game now. The dance has begun. The music is starting to play, and we are going to see which team wants to try and take the Gambit first. I would be very shocked if either wanted to full commit to it yet. We could see a slower paced game moving forward here.
Could indeed, which, I'm fine with, because that means we get a bigger spectacle in the end. More tension, more stress. And honestly, what this series expects now that it's gone the distance, now that we saw FPX fight back in Game 2, as BLG start up the Baron again, I guess.
Elk isn't here. There's no way this is real.
This is back away. They're just playing mind games right now with FPX. As Sheer get out potentially on the spot side. He did step up, and now coming around the corner now. Elk has a lot of damage. He's going to try to fight his way out of this one, but the health shred is still there. And now the Executioner means the healing is nowhere to be seen, and Ben gets the pick on a Sheer.
Yeah, it's a really nice play. FPX is too distracted to try to make a play, but they're going to try to counter.
They want to try to get Baitwan down as well. He can't go over the wall. He's going to give resets over to Awesome. Is going to give the kill there too. As the explosive charge goes down, Chaos Storm has been used. Summoner spell by Shadow, though. The flash being down is big. Oh, Elk.
Ooh, Elk is here.
And he does hit the plasma onto the clone, but did have Killer Instinct if he wanted to join. BLG going to sweep out some of the vision here. Still a nice trade back and forth by both teams. Is still a steady advantage by BLG.
You see Elk bot lane, you decide to make a play here with no Kaisa available. Minor
He has the killer instinct. Oh, he stopped him before he could get the plasma stack off with the chain. Trying to get some damage down with the Void Seeker there to get the combo and bring Elk to the fight. But Care able to navigate it nicely. Now back onto the Rift go FPX to get their own vision back and maybe even find a little bit of a pounce play onto Elk. Not going to go for that one, but go for vision around Baron.
Yeah, vision is so important for FPX in terms of how this game state has unlocked. I can't reiterate enough. Walking into a Victor Sejuani Renekton blind with no vision, that is not a recipe for success. You have to make sure you can track where BLG is basically at any point throughout the rest of the game. It opens up more opportunities for Awesome to play more aggressive, as well as Care to not feel like he has to burn that ultimate just to stay safe in a lot of these fights. Buy time for Yorick in a side lane. Eventually, this Yorick is going to have the push. Sheer is going to be able to do things. He hits level 16 now. So the Yorick is eventually going to be strong here as Bin completes the Randuin's Omen as well, though.
Yeah, I will also say Knight completed a Rabadon's after going for the Seekers. So, guys, he's window shopping and getting everything he needs. Starting to find a big difference here with the scaling. And he needs to find that scaling, and we do grab the Victor. We were wondering how much his Victor would outweigh the at least matchup differential that the Ahri brings for Care. So far, he's going to have a lot to say in these fights, specifically in the big team fights that BLG are going to be looking to take. They've been willing to start up the Baron on a whim, and now they're over on the top side to try to force FPX's hand about 1 minute and 15 seconds out of the dragon spawning.
This dragon's going to be a real interesting pivot point because it looks like Baron will still be on the table when this dragon spawns, and it's about how much BLG want to invest, but they are blind. We talked about how dangerous it is for FPX to face check anyone on BLG, and that's what they're going to have to do here.
They're going to try to move over and get some support by Sheer over towards the Dragon Pit, but now On is circling around the north side. Could always turn back onto the Baron, force FPX up the river. A little bit of a flank going as well. Bin will end up backing away and rejoining the team here. There's mid lane prio. The tension is heavy. They know how important this series is. Again, FPX on a little bit of a slide after having a heck of a series of wins for themselves. And BLG trying to make good on Beitwan's joining as On finds that big separation, and nowhere even close is going to be the extra help from Shadow as Baron goes down to BLG. Shadow gets no response, and now that Baron will empower BLG to push down this mid lane, get Prio to go over to this dragon. Engage coming through from Beitwan. Flashbang from Care. Care tries to go for the hero play. Elk is going to burst. Elk goes down. Awesome gets the resets. FPX, they might find it. Awesome, this is your moment. This is your time. As resets also coming through from Care. Bin going to be spaced out of. Awesome, can't find any more angles. FPX, they fight their way through to a big 3-2 fight. 3-3 rather, 3-2.
Wow, what an angle for Care. I didn't even really see that for him, but he clearly saw it himself. That Ahri landing the charm, very importantly. Elk gets demolished in that fight, gets absolutely blown up. And with no Kai'Sa there, it's actually a little bit suspect whether or not BLG have enough damage to break down even this more unconventional front line of the Yorick and the Wukong. Opens up a bit of options, but because of that fight, BLG can start this dragon.
Yeah, and there's not really contesting. Knight does so much damage already. They're running here. Maybe they make it in time. No jungler. I don't care. 50-50 the old school way. And BLG have pulled off of it. And now they're going to move back in. Who's going to get it? This is up for grabs. Bin gets hand shook out. It's going to be taken by Awesome. Here comes Sheer with the TP. Shadows here now. BLG, they've overextended. They don't have the rest of their team. This is a 5v3, but Elk finds Care. He's trying to get him. The bailout's there. The charm doesn't connect and Care will fall. Now the resets coming through. Elk looking for his angle. Beitwan taking advantage of FPX. And BLG, they find the turn. They find the fight. Elk has a triple kill as well. The final kill will come through. And BLG will rally around Elk and find the game-winning fight.
The killer instinct from the killer AD carry with Elk absolutely destroying the backline of FPX. It looked like it was such a great situation. They got in, they were able to get the dragon, but they didn't account for the Kai'Sa. She dives the backline and FPX is torn to shreds. Their series is over.
There's a B in BLG. There's a B in Beichuan. Maybe it's just the miracle. Maybe it's just magic. Coming in, they find a 2-win streak. They make good on the loss that they just faced against FPX on Monday. And they find a 2-1 victory over FPX. Beichuan might just be the new era for BLG. But I know Awesome's going to want that last fight back 10 times out of 10. I saw him kind of huddling over in the cams at the end of that one, but got to get flowers where they're due. Spirit blossoms, if you will, to BLG.
Absolute resilience from BLG. This was a bit of a gauntlet of a series. Game 2, very back and forth as we talked about, but Game 3, certainly not a cakewalk either. FPX look like they're making their way back into the game, showing that resilience, but BLG shutting the door once again through a player that needed to step up. We saw Bin and Knight kind of re-emerge last series. It was Elk's turn this time.
It was indeed.